hype don't win you no games. So, I mean, I've been here a minute, I've been through the hype, and we don't win no games. So, I mean, for me, if it's not about winning, quite honestly, I don't really care about it.
He's one of the longest tenured players on the Bears, but Jalen Johnson hasn't had one winning season, and until that happens, he's not buying into the hype. Day one, and Ben Johnson is already giving Caleb Williams a pop quiz how he expects to be challenged this season. And is Ashton Jeanty the answer if he's available at 10? Those in Boise say you'd be foolish to pass on him. That and more coming up this week on the Offseason.
We went over a few things yesterday, talked about a few things, and Ben walked in this morning, flung open the door, made a grand entrance, and then we got to work.
Hey everyone, welcome into the Offseason. I'm Cassie Carlson, joined by Herb Howard from the Bigs Media. Herb, good to have you in studio.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fun because we always see each other up at Hallis Hall,
sure.
And it's always fun. We have some good conversations. We kind of dissect everything that's said in the press conferences because we sit across from each other in our little cubicles up there. Bears back at Hallis Hall as Ben Johnson got to address his new team for the first time. What were your takeaways from their first impressions from their new head coach?
They all seemed impressed. I thought they said all the things I thought they would say. Nothing really was surprising. Nothing really stood out to me about what they said. This is the time of year where you want to hear guys say, hey, I've been working out. I feel good about where I am physically. I feel good where I am mentally. And then obviously have a new head coach. And so they're going to say all the positive things about him. I think he's earned those things. But I think I heard exactly what I expected to hear. It was really cool to hear Jalen Johnson talk about, hey, it's cool that we feel good and we have these expectations, but let's just put the work in, man. Let's talk about that when we get there. Let's focus on winning games in November, in December, and I think that's a really good mentality to have right now.
Let's talk about his relationship with Caleb Williams, because we know that's going to be the most important one over the next, hopefully, 5-10 years, that they're both here with a ton of success. And Ben Johnson has said, my success is directly linked to Caleb Williams' success. They are very
I'm glad he knows that.
Yeah, they are very tied together. He's going to challenge him in a lot of different ways. Here's what Caleb Williams said about already being challenged by his new head coach.
Him testing us about what we talked about yesterday and things like that. So already first day in and challenging us, and everybody loves a challenge in this sport. It's one of the great things about the sport. Every day is a challenge, and today we got our first one.
All right, Herb, how do you see this relationship working between the two of them? We know Ben Johnson is an intense guy.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, I would say, didn't have an intense coach until Thomas Brown tried to bring a little bit more out of him after Matt Eberflus was fired. So how do you see those two working together?
I think they should work well. I think, one, I don't have the expectation that they're friends. They don't have to be friends. Like, people want them to have this great relationship off the field. They don't have to. They have to respect each other, and they have to work well together. I think that Coach Johnson is going to hold Caleb Williams to a very high standard, and when he doesn't meet the standard, he'll be held accountable for not meeting that standard. And I think ultimately it's going to pull the very best out of Caleb Williams. He has an immense tool set. He can, everything you want your quarterback to be able to do, he can do it. He also wants to be great. He's willing to work at it. Coach Johnson is going to demand that from him each and every day. And if they can work together, Caleb should reach his ceiling, and then obviously that'll mean a lot of success for Coach Johnson.
All right, there was something that came out from Ian Rappaport from NFL Network yesterday, and he had some pretty direct messaging for how hard Caleb Williams is going to have to work under Ben Johnson. Take a listen.
It's going to be really hard. And I know he's ready. I know he thinks he's ready. But I don't know if he truly understands what it's going to be like just to go from good, but to be great, to be one of the actual greats, which his talent should allow him to do, Kyle. Yep. It is going to be really miserable. And Ben Johnson has been incredibly successful in Detroit. Is he the most pleasant person to be around during the season? I don't think he is. It's going to be hard. And I don't even know if right now Caleb Williams understands, but like on a Monday night in November is going to be, it's going to suck. Okay. And if you want to be great, it has to suck. To get where they need to go, he has to embrace being absolutely and utterly miserable.
All right, so we were talking before we started the show, and you said you had not heard that yet.
No.
What's your reaction to hearing a national insider with that messaging?
I think Ben Johnson probably told him to go say that. Like, hey, let him know this isn't going to be fun. Like, I am going to press on him and press on him and press on him. And it very well may be miserable, but the work has to be done. Sometimes doing that hard work isn't fun, but it's necessary. Caleb has talked about wanting to be great. He's talked about wanting to be great since he was a kid, and he's met the challenge everywhere. He's talked about being #1 player and being the Heisman and getting the #1 pick. He's done all those things. Well, now do you want to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? If you do, this is what it's going to take. And now you may be married to a coach who is going to absolutely demand that from you every day. And it's not always going to be fun. It doesn't have to be, man. Just get the job done. I think he has the right mentality for it. I thought last year he showed some of that. When the Bears were losing, he never really went in the tank. We saw some of his best football late in games, fourth quarter situations. We continue to compete. And so I don't think he'll run from that challenge. I think he wants to be great.
Are you framing his second season like another rookie season for him? Because it's hard to kind of digest what his rookie season really was because of all the changes and how good he really can be, given the fact that he wasn't drafted into a good situation when he expected to be.
Yeah, I think that he certainly needs to take a big jump this year, right? And I think that he can. A lot of people thought he came into the best situation any rookie quarterback has ever come into last year, neglecting to understand the holes that they had at the offensive line, some of the deficiencies that they had in terms of in-game decisions, right? And so now you've gone through that. You kind of reset it. He should be in place with a much healthier infrastructure around him, a much better offensive line in front of him. And so he should have everything he needs to take that next step. Again, he has the tool set, he has the makeup and the mentality. Just got to put it all together.
You were at owners' meetings where Ben Johnson talked a lot. I think he's really good at getting his messaging across through the media, because I've noticed it a few times. And he talked about how he plans to work Caleb Williams under center more when he's spent 70% of his snaps out of the shotgun his rookie season, and really his entire college career too. How do you think that's going to benefit Caleb Williams in this offense?
Yeah, I personally love, playing under center. I think it gives you a lot of flexibility for what you can do offensively. You're allowed to marry your running game with your passing game in a way that doesn't really work the same when you're in the gun 70% of the time. You get under center, you can run your running game, then you can set up your play action. You can do a lot of different things that look the same way, and vice versa. You can do a lot of the same things that look differently. And so I like the fact of him getting under center and utilizing that a bit more. He's going to have to get used to it. The footwork is a little bit different. The processing, the timing is a little bit different. But if he works at it and gets it down, it'll benefit him.
All right, we all became experts or tried to become experts in EPA. And after listening to Caleb Williams, I think he's also trying to learn what it means. After hearing Ben Johnson going on about that directly correlates to winning the most, that's the one stat analytic. What did you learn about EPA and like how to dumb it down for people? Because I feel like it's a little bit controversial. Everyone thinks they know what it is.
To me, the simplest way to dumb it down is just to be efficient offensively. You talk about expected points added. Well, if you're watching a football game, right? If this play goes well for the offense, you get a little bit higher expectation of them scoring on this drive, right? We get a first down. Okay, well, I expect us to score more than I did before we got the first down, right? So it's just about having an efficient offense that stays on time, on schedule, ahead of the sticks. Don't consistently put yourself in third and long situations, limit the penalties, limit the mistakes. That's really all it's talking about. You can put a name on it and all that if you want to, but at the end of the day, how often are we having positive plays versus negative plays? Too often in here around Chicago, we've seen negative plays almost as frequently as we've seen positive plays.
All right, let's get to some defensive players, Jalen Johnson and Tremaine Edmonds, who had takeaways from Ben Johnson's first meeting.
Really just the mindset of winning and winning right now. And winning a certain type of way, too. I think just having that dominated mentality is something that I took from the team meeting.
You don't just want to win, but we want to win by a lot. You know what I mean? We want to dominate. And, you know what I mean? I think that's important. You know what I mean? That just talks about his mentality. It talks about his mindset.
To me, you get in a fight, you just don't want to barely win the fight. You want to whoop the guy in front of you. So, I mean, that's what the mentality is for us. It's not just about barely winning or barely getting by, but dominating.
All right, Jalen Johnson, good to see him there. He made a joke. He was like, you guys are surprised to see me? Were you surprised that he was there?
I wasn't surprised that he's there. I think that he's continued to grow into his leadership role in this team. He's always been somebody that's focused, on his own development, make sure he's doing the right things. But I think he's grown even more into being a leader of the overall locker room and trying to set that example by his own performance. And so I think it was really good that he showed up.
All right, we're going to see more man coverage under Dennis Allen, and Jalen Johnson said he expects to travel and follow the number one wide receiver. This is something that I'm personally really excited for, and I feel like he has been waiting for this. And so what do you think that's going to mean for Jalen Johnson, this defense, and his career? Because we know he has big expectations for himself.
Exactly. It gives him an opportunity to put his full game on display. Jalen Johnson is extremely confident in his ability on the football field, and I think he has the right to be. I have a lot of confidence in his ability, too. I don't think the Bears have always utilized him to aid the overall defense. If you can say, hey, Jalen Johnson, go lock down their best receiver, then that allows us to do other things with the defense. We can bring some exotic pressures. We can play some other zone looks on the other side. If Jalen Johnson is able to line up against the other team's number one receiver consistently and limit what that receiver is able to do, it's going to really, really benefit this defense. It's something that he's wanted to do for a very, very long time. I know he's excited about the challenge. We'll see what that actually looks like.
All right, we got to take a break. The draft is 2 weeks away. When we come back, could Ben Johnson push to draft a tight end 10th overall? Or should the Bears stick with the trenches? Herb and I discuss when we come back on the Offseason. Welcome back to the Offseason. Herb Howard joining me from the Bigs Media. You know, we're talking about the Bears in phase 1 of OTAs, but really we're 2 weeks out from the draft, and it's kind of crazy to think about because I have no idea what direction they're going to go in. As Ryan Poles has said, as Ben Johnson has said, because of what they did in free agency and pulling off those 2 trades, they really are in position to draft best player available. When you look at it, who do you hope that is?
You know what? I don't want to duck your question, Cass, but I really don't know because they've done such great work to this point in terms of free agency and utilizing some good trades where they have created so much flexibility going into the draft. They could literally do almost anything, and I could view it as a good move. I do think they still have needs at positions like edge rusher. Maybe they want to go ahead and finish overhauling their offensive line and say, hey, let's just get a left tackle, and we flip our whole offensive line. And that either of those things would be fine. But I also look at it and say, well, I know you need an edge rusher, but do you take your 3rd or 4th best edge rusher and pass on the number 1 tight end or maybe the number 1 running back if they happen to fall to you? So I think they've created themselves such flexibility that they can do almost anything at this point.
And every time I get asked, I say I want them to continue to build in the trenches because I don't think it's the safe move. I think it's the smart move for the long term. But if they were to take an Ashton Jeanty, if he is available, I mean, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be really excited for what hopefully he can bring with DeAndre Swift and having an overhauled interior offensive line. What's your take on Tyler Warren, though? Because he seems to be building steam as a potential option at 10.
That seems like a really, really good chess piece to have. He can do so many things for you offensively, not only line up in the traditional tight end role, but I think that he's a guy, as you see here, who can stretch the field for you. He can go up and catch the 50-50 balls. I think you can line him up in the backfield as well. He can do so many things for an offense, and I think Ben Johnson will just really, really enjoy moving him around the field to create some mismatches. You can put him on the field with Kokomet, too. You can use him in that kind of fullback situation, similar to what the 49ers have done with Kyle Juszczyk. There's so many things that he can do for you on the football field.
All right, I'm hearing some people wanting the Bears to trade up for Ashton Jeanty, and I think that's a little bit crazy and a deep running back draft class. And I also don't think it's something that Ryan Poles has showed us that he would do, given this fact that he tends to trade down. So based off your reaction, you're also like, no, let's not do that. Let's hold with the draft picks that we have.
The Bears don't have the luxury to trade up for Ashton Jeanty right now. In fact, before they started to acquire all these people in free agency and these trades, I would have said he was a luxury they couldn't afford even if he fell to them at 10. Now I'm at least willing to have the conversation about drafting him at 10. But the idea of trading up to go get him, I don't want to hear that. That's just not smart. I think if the Bears were to trade up to get anybody, I think the only person that would make sense is if Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, start to fall down the board. If those quarterbacks start to go, you get Travis Hunter, Jeanty, Tyler Warren, and you look up and you now at maybe 7 or 8, and Mason Graham is still on the board for you. Going up to get him is the only player I can see the Bears moving up for.
All right, I want to bring up something that you tweeted about because Shadeur Sanders had his pro day where he was throwing. And the one thing that gets picked up from it is that he does the extra pat right before he throws the ball. And someone was like, oh, this is going to make him fall down. Everyone's bored. And you were like, can we stop with this? Because you watch all the greats and they all do the same thing.
It's a natural thing that most quarterbacks do. It's a comforting thing. 2, it helps you get in rhythm and stay in rhythm. And then 3, it's the last opportunity you get to really just kind of secure the ball one more time in your hand before you go through your full throwing motion. But they all do it. This is not something that's unique to Shadeur in any kind of way. They're talking about, oh, well, the defensive backs are going to be able to read it and they're going to jump on the ball. No, they're not. It's like, boom, and the ball's out.
He's a Deion Sanders kid sort of thing, you think?
I think so. I think that, the same way Prime did, Shadeur brings a lot of attention on himself. He's flashy. He does the watch thing and all this. And that's fine. If you're going to be able to handle that, that's fine. He likes the attention. He seems to be able to handle the attention. He's grown up as Deion Sanders' son his whole life. So I don't think that the lights are too bright for him. But he has to understand that some of these things will come with it. But to me, the conversation is absolute nonsense.
All right, where do you think Shadeur Sanders gets drafted? Because it sounds like Cam Ward's going to be the first one off the board.
Yeah, I think teams will always, jump up and take a quarterback. And so people talk about him sliding down the board. I don't see that he's going to get, past the Giants. You got the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, all these teams talking about quarterbacks. I don't think he gets past 5 or 6.
Really?
I still think that he's going to be top 5 or 6 pick in this draft.
All right, Herb Howard, I appreciate you coming on the offseason. We'll see you up at Hallis Hall next week.
Thanks so much.
Coming up, Bronco Nation News' publisher BJ Rains has covered Ashton Jeanty's college career at Boise State. He shares more about how he thinks the Heisman runner-up will translate to the NFL and if he's a good fit for Chicago. Hey everyone, welcome back to the offseason. We are 2 weeks out from the NFL draft, where the Bears believe they're in position to take best player available. And the question is, does that mean potentially taking Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty? Joining us now is someone who covered the running back's Heisman-worthy season and Boise State career, Bronco Nation News publisher BJ Rains. BJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be on. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about this. Here in Chicago, there's two sides. Those who really hope the Bears draft a running back and Ashton Jeanty 10th overall, and those who say they should really focus on the trenches. You've covered his entire college career. Give us a little background on who Ashton Jeanty is and his growth to being the top running back and prospect, one of them in this draft.
Yeah, I want to meet those people that don't want them to take Ashton Jeanty, first of all. But, yeah, I mean, just an incredible season, incredible career. And, I mean, we don't have enough time in this interview to really get into all the details about why he would make a good pick for anybody that picks him. But I just super impressive. The combination of his physicality and his speed, the fact that he just doesn't ever go down. It takes 4 or 5 tackles to get him to go down, and he'll turn a 3-yard loss into a 4-yard gain sometimes, where it's an incredible run and it goes for 4 yards given what he did. And then he gets in space and he'll blow by people and then outrun you in space as well. So just his combination of the different things he brings to the table. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He truly is something special. I mean, I think the Fiesta Bowl against Penn State was his worst game, and he rushed for 104 yards. He had an incredible season. Literally every time the ball was in his hands, you had a chance to see a touchdown. Didn't matter if they were at their own 1-yard line or what. I mean, it was you didn't go to the bathroom or run to the concession stand when Boise State had the ball, because you didn't want to miss an unreal highlight from Ashton Jeanty. So I'm very curious to see how his game translates to the next level. But based on what I saw in the last couple of years, particularly last year, I think he has a chance to come in right away from day one and be an impact player in the NFL.
All right, so you just led into another one of my questions. You're curious to see how he translates to the NFL, because some people say once he went up against a Big Ten defense against Penn State, he didn't look the same. But you would argue and you trust that he does have the contact balance that he needs and all the strength and all those intangibles too, to really still be explosive in the league.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons. Obviously, his size is similar, I think, to like an Emmitt Smith, and there's a lot of comparisons to other running backs and things. But, yeah, I mean, just put on the tape. I mean, in the Oregon game, and you can say what you want to about Penn State's defense, that's fine. But put on the tape from the Oregon game, second game of the season, rushed for 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a couple incredible runs in that game on 25 carries. So I'm not at all worried about him, putting up these numbers against quote-unquote Mountain West defenses or whatever. I mean, in the Penn State game, Boise State had nothing working. Everybody in the building knew Ashton Jeanty needed to get, I think, another 30 yards, whatever it was, to set the single-season rushing yards record that Shadeur Sanders had. So they loaded the box, and they obviously did what they needed to do to slow him down. But overall, no, I have no concerns from that standpoint. I think his game translates very nicely, and you give him an offensive line, maybe like the Bears have or some of these teams. I think he could come in and put up huge numbers right away. I mean, just a workhorse, over 30 carries, 7 or 8 times, and especially down the stretch, almost every game. He was 30-plus carries, 35 touches, all these different things. I got no problem about his durability, no worries about the physicality and all that translating. And I think it obviously takes the right system and the right situation and the right, play scheme and coaching staff. But I think no, I'm pretty confident he'll come in right away and have a chance to do big things.
Yeah, we know Ben Johnson loves to run the ball. We know he had Sonic and Knuckles with him in Detroit, and they're trying to find a duo to pair with DeAndre Swift, who they have right now. And Jeanty is kind of the opposite style that Swift is. Some people are wondering, can he catch out of the backfield? I know he went through an offensive coordinator change. Is that why his catches went down his last season as well?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the number from 2 years ago. He caught almost 50 passes out of the backfield. I think it was 43 catches 2 years ago. They switched offensive coordinators and really eliminated the screen game. They very rarely threw it to him, but that was not his undoing at all. It wasn't like he dropped 20 passes or wasn't open. They just they said, hey, if we can get 8-9 yards every time we have him run the ball up the middle. Why would we do anything different? So, put on the tape from 2 years ago. He had a screen pass against Washington in the season opener that went for a big gain. 43 catches, almost 600 receiving yards. Like I said, 5 touchdowns through the air 2 years ago. So his game did not regress at all in the receiving game. It was just a change in offensive philosophy where they didn't see a need to use him in the screen game or in the receiving game that much because of how dominant he was as a running back. But if you need him to be a guy, he's an all-down back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, make guys miss. I actually there were a lot of Boise State fans that were mad they didn't use him more in the receiving game. Get him out in space more, get him the ball and let him do some things, not running right up the middle every time between the tackles. So, I have no issues. Put on the tape from 2 years ago, and you'll be very impressed with him as a pass catcher, and nothing has changed in that regard.
As someone who's talked to him over the last 3 years, what can you tell us about his character? Because he has a really interesting upbringing, actually, of living overseas in Italy and starting playing football there, too.
Yeah, I remember talking to him as a high schooler when he committed to Boise State. And there were a lot of, right before signing day, there was a lot of rumors and things. Oh, TCU's coming in late because he was living in Texas. And some other schools were trying to get involved late, the cutthroat business of signing day. And I remember talking to him, a night or two before signing day, maybe that Sunday or Monday of like the Wednesday signing day. And he was like, no, on his kitchen table right there doing the interview on his computer. And he's like, no, Boise State fans got nothing to worry about. I'm all in. I'm locked in. I'm coming. And sure enough, he did. And, that first year, he kind of split some carries, obviously, with George Halani, a running back that's now with the Seattle Seahawks. They split carries the first couple of years, and then this was the year where he kind of got to take over as the main guy. But, this is a guy that took significantly less. And I know the stories with Ashton Jeanty are obviously out there, and a lot of people know about him. You mentioned his upbringing, living in different places overseas with his dad being in the military and then living in Florida and some other places. But, this dude took, way less, and I'm talking several $100,000 less to stay at Boise State because he wanted that legacy. He wanted to be able to bring his family back to Boise someday. He wanted to maybe have the statue, outside the stadium someday and not take a 1 year payday in the SEC or somewhere. He took several $100,000 less. He could have made $1 million+ playing it in the Big Ten or the SEC last year, but he decided to stay loyal to Boise State and stay for that year in Boise last year when he very easily could have done what a lot of guys are doing and gone for the stardom and the bigger payday. But I think everything you need to know about Ashton Jeanty is the fact that he was mature about it. He knew his payday was coming in the NFL. He knew he was in the right spot for him, and he wasn't just looking at the dollars or the money and didn't let people get in his head and things. And he stayed, had a huge year, and now he's about to cash in on that decision.
All right, BJ, we have about a minute left. A lot of mock drafts have him going to the Raiders at 6. Some people are saying the Bears should even trade up for him. You're a football fan. Where would you like to see Ashton Jeanty drafted?
Can he fall to my Chiefs? Probably not. I don't know if that
Chiefs don't need
work
him.
there late. No, I would say the Raiders seem to make a lot of sense. A lot of people in Boise would like to see him go to the Raiders just because it's Las Vegas. It's a easy nonstop flight down there. And obviously they got Pete Carroll now, who is with the Seahawks, who have a lot of fans up here in Boise. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't know if he'll fall to them, but they take a lot of Boise State guys. They've had a long history taking Boise State players to the Dallas Cowboys. I think Kellen Moore, now the head coach of the Saints, was a legendary quarterback at Boise State, so a lot of people would love to see him take him there. But I think the Bears, Chicago, a good O-line, I think that makes a lot of sense there. They're just hoping he goes higher than number 12. The highest Boise State player ever to get drafted was Ryan Clady at number 12, an offensive lineman. So if he goes higher than 12, I think fans will be happy because it'll be a historic night for Boise State.
All right, BJ Rains, we appreciate your time and expertise on Ashton Jeanty. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Green Bay at the NFL Draft, where he hopes to hear his name called.
Looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
Time will tell what the Bears do in the draft. Next week, we get to talk to assistant coaches up at Hallis Hall as phase 1 of OTAs continue. In the meantime, check out extended interviews and episodes of the Offseason on the Fox 32 Chicago YouTube page or on Fox Local. We'll see you next week.